To me, the Packers on offense have to make this a space game. You have to spread that Los Angeles Rams defense out. You know Aqib Talib is not back. See if you can take advantage of some of the matchups that you have that are favorable in their secondary. I don't think the Packers offense can be one of those offenses in this game that's going to try to run the football 25 to 30 times just because the Rams defense is so stout up front. What I'm trying to do is take one of those defensive tackles off the field, whether that's Brockers or Sue, it doesn't really matter. Get one of those guys off the field, spread them out a little bit. I think Aaron Rodgers can pick that defense apart. I think that's the direction that this offense has to go if they're going to have some success. Unlike Kirk Cousins in that Minnesota Vikings offense, I think the Packers offense has a chance to make this a shootout in L.A., but they just got to be able to spread them out. They can't pack it in and think that they're going to beat the Rams at that game.
I'm going to go from a different standpoint. I'm going to go Packers defense. Clay Matthews and that guy, defensive coordinator, I got to dial up a bunch of blitzes. I believe the way through the Rams is through Jared Goff. Like, I've seen him take some hits, but it is not proven to me that he's that kind of guy going to stand in there and take that old-fashioned NFL punishment.
You're going to check his oil, huh?
Yeah, I need to check his oil, and I just believe that if I can get him off, I believe that that's the way to trying to beat the Rams. The Rams are trying to run the football.
Yes, sir.
So don't let the motion, don't let the 31 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end in the game fool you as if they are Kansas City. Kansas City will win without running the football. They did that the first 3 games of the season. Now, since then, they started running it. But the Rams, they get off the bus or get off the plane trying to run it and trying to run it through the middle of the defense through a lot of variety of different ways. I'm trying to get after that quarterback. I don't believe I can stop Todd Gurley, but if I can keep Goff around 220 yards passing, I believe, no matter, I don't know how many points I can score, but I believe that's the way to be able to slow down the Rams is get after their still young quarterback.
Listen, I'm not used to seeing the Packers as this type of underdog. It's because they've never been this type of underdog with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. And this is the team they wanted to have going into the game, as Jenna alluded to. It's not like this Packers team's the Falcons. They've been ravaged by defensive injuries. No, this is basically who they thought they were going to have this year. I know they had some injuries at wide receiver earlier in the year, but most of those guys they think will be back this week coming off the bye.
And Aaron Rodgers is back.
Of course, Aaron Rodgers is as healthy as he's been all year, as healthy as he's been since he hurt his knee in week 1, pardon me. And so I think the Packers should be able to compete. I also think the Rams, they're undefeated feels so different than 1 loss. There's another team in the NFC with 1 loss. See, we were just talking about the Saints. Nobody's talking about the Saints like people are talking about the Rams. It's a 1-game difference. And you know who the Rams have next?
I think for the style, Kansas City, they have 1 loss. And because of Tampa Bay, Fitzy Magic got us in week number 1. I think because the Saints and their style points defensively, we not giving them credit as being good. So a lot of times style points have something to do with that.
Absolutely. And the Rams seem every week they hit the over. Seems more almost always they cover. Like, I get it. But the Rams also know that next week they go to New Orleans. And a couple weeks after that, they play the Chiefs on a neutral site. Like, we can talk about how important this game is for the Packers, and it is. It's also very important for the Rams. The Rams haven't clinched anything. Now, we know we would be shocked if they don't win their division, but the difference between winning the division and being the #1 overall seed could be what happens over this next month of football. It likely will be what happens over this next month of football. But to your point, there's one path to victory for the Packers. It's basically been the path to victory for the last 5 years against good teams. Have Aaron Rodgers be spectacular.
Yep.
They're not trying to pretend they're going to have.
Put a number on that, Nick. Put
a yardage number. I think Rodgers probably going to have to be 34 of 42 for 385 yards, 4 touchdowns minimum.
Imagine starting the game like that, Jenna. What? 34, 42, 340?
Yep.
To give me a chance.
You know what it reminds me of?
But it's against a Rams team.
It's against a Rams team. But you know what it reminds me of? The NFC playoff game, I think it was an NFC championship game against the Falcons, where Rodgers, early in the game, the Packers had a turnover. The Falcons got to stop. It was 21-0 or 24-0 maybe. And it was like, oh, well, this game's not just over because they're down by so much, but they're never going to stop Atlanta. So even if Rodgers gets going, it doesn't matter. Like, this is a game that you are going to have to go into it and just say, we're not going to pretend we're going to have balance. And they haven't pretended that all year. They have thrown almost nearly 70% of plays have been passes. That's the second most in the NFL. The Rams, meanwhile, 51%. That is the second least in the NFL. So for all those reasons, like, if they're going to have a shot, not just to cover but to win, Rodgers has to be brilliant.
What does it say about this Packers team and Aaron Rodgers that they are such underdogs coming in?
Listen, people don't like to listen to Vegas. Listen to Vegas. It talks about the lack of respect that they have on the team, the lack of trust that they have even in the organization. And it really is an indictment on the coaching staff. Because you don't think a coach is a good coach if you think after a bye week. You still need that kind of points. If you look at the good coaches in the league, in and out of bye weeks, look at their record and everything.
Reed and Belichick in particular, spectacular, like 90+% after a bye.
So that right there is a level of disrespect that you just typically don't see with a guy who is the elite of the elite quarterbacks and whoever his coach is and been his coach for a long time.
You're absolutely right, CC, but the one thing that the Packers can do in this game is change the complexion and try to dictate what the Rams need to do offensively in order to stay in the game. Because you want to be that rushing team. They led the league coming into Week 8 in rush attempts, and I know that Todd Gurley is the focal point of that offense, but if the score is 10-0, 14-0, then it's a situation where you can't stay with that run game. You've got to throw the ball, and I think that's where the Packers could have an advantage. If you put the game on Jared Goff by dictating that through the score, then maybe you've got a chance. And that's what I'm looking for Aaron Rodgers to do, because if it comes down to the two quarterbacks, clearly the Packers have the advantage in this game.
The in vogue thing in the NFL these days is if you win the toss to defer, so you get the second half kickoff. If I'm the Packers and I win the toss, give me the football.
Get the ball.
Give me the football.
Yes,
Let's go try to put points on the board early.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.